Phelps on one hand. Who do we have on the other?
Ooh, it looks like we have Nick Lanzo playing another junk token deck. We're going to be going into game 2 for this match. I guess they, went a little long game 1, about 20-ish minutes off the clock here before they start game 2. Tyler looking like he's taking a mulligan. But yeah, Nick Lanzo, he's got Lingering Souls, Midnight Haunting, which we haven't seen yet from the token decks. This is the 4th distinctly different token deck that I've seen in the top 8 so far. I'm sorry, in the tournament so far. A pair of Celestial Charms, a Sever the Bloodline, 3x Ready Willing.
Wow.
So he really, really, really wanted to give all his guys Lifelink or Death Touch. I don't know which.
That's really not a card I thought we'd see a lot of this weekend. It seems a little weak.
I think the main drawback, I think it does give your guys indestructible, right?
It
so
does.
It can counter a Supreme Verdict, which is pretty huge. I'm more of a fan of Rootborn defenses because it can prevent you, or it can populate in addition to ramping you. I'm sorry, into populating. Protecting. I'm stumbling all over myself because I was distracted. I apologize. So Reborn Defenses, I think, might be better than Ready and Willing in a token deck because you can populate, one of your tokens as well as protecting your stuff from Supreme Verdict, whereas Ready Willing, you have the option to gain a bunch of life against the aggro decks.
Right. Ready Willing's a lot cooler, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's new. People like new things. But he does have 7 mana accelerators to help pump out his Lingering Souls and Midnight Hauntings early in the game, along with 4 Intangible Virtue, 2 Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, and 2 Garruk Relentless for his late game stuff. A couple Thragtusk as well. It looks like the names at the top are switched.
Yeah,
we can flip-flop those. They're Jund should be on the right.
Right,
yeah,
and that makes more sense because this way Nick Lanzo got to play too with his junk token deck.
Right.
So it looks like we have Arbor Elf versus land, and then on turn 2, another Arbor Elf and a swing for 1.
Yep. And from the Jund deck, you don't really mind seeing your opponent play a couple mana guys early as long as they don't play Acidic Slime on turn 3. So if he has access to a Bonfire of the Damned or even like a Huntmaster of the Fells next turn, he's gonna punish Nick for having those mana accelerators. If he doesn't have like a great follow-up play, Nick can very easily overwhelm him with some bigger spells like the Thragtusk, like Sorin and Garruk, and just like the bigger spells like that. Right. He is playing junk tokens, not Reanimator, so he's not really going to be sliming Tyler out. I don't know what happened in game 1 and what Nick really thinks is going on in this matchup, but since Tyler, did take it down, it might have been quickly. But here comes a Thragtusk. Seems like pretty par for the course for most junk decks. However, he has a lot of spice coming behind it.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad matchup for any junk token deck, but at least Nick Lanzo's deck has a little game against the junk deck.
Yeah, and then you see Olivia Voldaren.
Not against that card, though.
He does have a couple Putrefies in the board that he can use to his advantage here. Not a whole lot else to really fight it other than maybe a Garruk Relentless. He has 2 Devour Flesh, which I doubt he would bring in this matchup because Edict effects are pretty miserable against both Thragtusk and Huntmaster of the Fells from the opponent.
Right.
It looks like Tyler is gripping a Rakdos Return and a couple Garruks. Oh no, that's a Sire of Insanity. So he's got a Sire of Insanity, a couple of Garruks that he's going to start pumping out next turn, unless he decides to shoot down the Mana Dorks. I don't think either would be a particularly bad play. Both seem quite good.
Yeah, and it seems like Nick Lanzo trying to figure out what to do about this Olivia, but that's the problem with these junk token decks. They have to devote so many slots to their token engine, to their intangible virtues and their Midnight Hauntings and Lingering Souls that they don't have that much room for removal.
Yeah, and I think the one thing to note for the junk tokens deck is that it's actually hard to put a great clock on Jund with cards like Thragtusk when your opponent can just play their own Thragtusk and completely negate the damage that you've dealt, buying them significant amount of time for their Olivia Voldarens and things like that to take over the game.
So here's the Thragtusk coming in.
Benny battles.
Tyler will take 5, drop to 14.
Mm-hmm. And Nick actually has another mana creature in hand as well as an Intangible Virtue and a card that I can't see. It looked like a foil of some sort. Yeah, so not a whole lot of action. This is looking pretty bad for him. Mana Dorks versus Olivia Voldaren. Usually the Queen of the Damned wins.
Yeah, the Lady of 3 Legs is going to make quick work of those Pilgrims.
Yeah, that picture is so weird looking.
It's a little awkward.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, it's just the way that her dress contorts or whatever just makes it look strange. So.
Yeah, maybe we can get that up on screen for you.
I mean, I've actually read something about it. It's not obviously not intended to look any sort of way, but just the way that she's like angled, her legs are like hiking back behind her because she's flying forward or something. You know, I did read something about the artist talking about the art on it, so I follow flavor, man.
That's cool. That's cool. A Porthos for life.
Nah,
right here.
that would be McDarbs.
So Tyler Phelps looks like he is going to take out some of these Pilgrims.
Yep.
So 1 to the Pilgrim, 1 to the Arbor Elf. Olivia's a 5/5.
Yeah. And I don't think passing the turn was great. Like, he doesn't really want to block the Thragtusk here, and he's, you know, exchanging the potential for 5 damage for the difference of 1 damage on the swing back from the Arbor Elf. And that's even assuming Nick doesn't need the mana to cast a spell.
Right. It's a little strange, the go, but I guess Tyler's hand is so good and his opponent has so few cards in hand, he figures that the only way he can lose is by being beat down. So I definitely respect the play, but 5 for 1 is, you have to be pretty sure to not trade 5 for 1 there.
Yeah. I mean, the difference between 9 and 8 life could mean, you know, the difference in the game later on. And, you know, I don't know if Tyler really thought that through too much. He might have just thought, you know, maybe I'm on the defensive, I don't need to attack.
Right.
And I think sometimes that's a common mistake that people will make where they'll, you know, have a big creature in play, but it's not profitable to block with it against something like a Thragtusk, and they want to attack with it because they're playing defense, and because they know that they're in the defensive stance in the matchup. Yeah.
So Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, comes down for Nick Lanzo. Not too impressive, though. It's just going to get attacked down by Olivia.
Yep, more than likely. It would be funny if he made an emblem here, which he does post-combat. You know, and this is actually something that I want to remark on. So a lot of people, when they make a small mistake, like, for example, playing the sword in post-combat and making an emblem, they you know, are like, well, I messed up. Instead of looking bad and making an emblem, which is probably the correct play, I'm going to make a vampire just because that's what I was going to do anyway.
Of course.
You know, just so you don't, like, look bad or whatever. But it's important that even when you recognize that you make a mistake, you rectify that mistake by making the correct play regardless of at what point you do it in the turn.
Yep. So Sorin goes down, and actually, that kind of reminds me of a funny story from Worlds. I want to say 2010. I was watching a feature match, deep in Day 3 Extended. A player plays a turn 1 Curd Ape, says go, his opponent does something, he untaps, he forgets to play his fetch land, attacks for 1 first, and then post-combat he just looks and says go, because he doesn't want to be embarrassed to play a post-combat forest.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that, you just have to, you know, swallow your pride and you know, take your lumps and just do the right play.
Exactly. If you play Magic with your ego, you're not going to last too long.
Right. Tyler here opting to play a Woodland Cemetery. I guess, no, that was his 3rd green mana, so he didn't want to take damage, obviously. So he's going to make a Beast token, which is going to trade off quite nicely with the Thragtusk, assuming there is no Putrefy or anything like that. But I assume that if he had Putrefy, he would much more happily use it on the Olivia Voldaren instead.
Right. So Thragtusk can have all the power it wants, as many emblems as Nick wants, but it's not going to be able to get through to that Garruk.
Yeah. No Gavany Township from Nick's side, so no way to prevent it from dying. Still at a lot of life, though. The problem is that the way that his deck is built, he doesn't really have a great breakthrough card like an Angel Serenity or like something to actually deal with an Olivia Voldaren for more than a turn. And, you know, if the Olivia is at a 5/5 now, which is important to note because it does turn on the 2 Selesnya Charms that are in Nick's deck to be able to exile it. So he does have a few outs now if he sided in the Putrefies to go along with the Selesnya Charms.
Yeah, and really, the Voldaren, just such a key card in the Jund deck, almost no one can beat it once it's in play. No one plays answers to 4/4 flyers, it seems like.
Yeah.
2 Putrefy, that's it.
Yeah, so going to swing over here for 5 points of damage. I think he's more than happy to just soak the 5. Tyler probably going to just trade off Beast tokens here if he can, and then use Olivia to kill the 2 Spirit tokens. And maybe just main phase it here and kill the token as well. Or sorry, the Arbor Elf.
Right.
The Intangible Virtue. Oh, yeah. Okay, he played that a while ago, and I actually forgot about it. So, Abrupt Decay on the Virtue will allow his Olivia to kill the tokens freely.
Right, and sure, it leaves Nick with an Arbor Elf for a turn, but that doesn't matter too much.
I mean, he's only got access to 4 mana, so.
Right. So here we go.
This may even be before damage is resolved, so he could be decaying and then shooting the tokens before damage is resolved.
Yep, that would be a tight play. So 1, 2. Puts Olivia up to 7/7, even further out of reach.
And it was before damage, so now he's going to take 7 down to 11, and now his clock is much more significant.
So he'll pass the turn back to Nick, whose window is...
He's at 16. I think we
flipping
missed some life points somewhere, but yeah.
Force from Nick. He needs a Putrefy, not a land here.
Yep. I've been saying that a lot today. He needs to draw a Putrefy.
Yeah.
That card's good.
Everyone is really underplaying removal at this tournament.
Yep. I mean, I haven't really seen a whole lot of Pillar Flames, which would have been great against all these Mana Dorks, all these, Naya Blitz decks that we've seen.
Just
not great against Jund, but, I mean, we've only seen Jund, like, maybe 2 or 3 times on camera. And, it's not in each match, each round. It's just in, like, one of the 2 matches that are near the top. The deck's obviously very good. Just a collection of very powerful cards. And you can see when you, play tightly and you do things like, before blocks, Abrupt Decay, the Intangible Virtue, so I can kill your 2 Lingering Souls. And here, he can just kill the Thragtusk if he wants to, but he's opting to keep Nick off of 5 mana for, various tricks and stuff, and instead he's going to just probably make a beast with the Garruk, threaten a lethal, or not lethal, but threaten to make, 26 sixes or whatever.
Right.
And still have a good defender. He can still ping and after playing the Nighthawk and potentially steal a creature next turn anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this game pretty much over for Nick Lanzo. If he doesn't have Putrefy here for the Olivia, or, well, he has to deal with both the Olivia and the Garruk this turn,
yeah,
so it's going to be pretty tough for him.
Yeah, I don't know. This is bad.
I suppose it could start with maybe a Selesnya Charm for +2/+2 trample, but...
Well, he drew Putrefy for Olivia,
okay,
but now he has to deal with approximately 9 worms.
That's not that many worms.
Yeah, it's not that many.
Just 9 6/6s.
Yeah, and I don't think Nick has actual Day of Judgment in his deck. Ooh.
One Sever the Bloodline.
One Sever the Bloodline.
So assuming Tyler does make some 6/6s, Nick's on a 1-outer.
Yeah. He could play it safe and make a beast token. Opponent has no cards in hand. I feel pretty safe making 8 6/6 tokens. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, if he draws,
if you have the Sever Man,
exactly.
You got me. That's fine. It's not like he's flashing it back anytime soon. He still has and he has a Relentless in hand, so
wow.
that's cool. So he's gonna make 9 worms, and then play Garruk Relentless.
Judge 9 6/6 worm tokens, please.
Yeah, I don't know. So I was skeptical that we would have rhinos. I'm almost positive we don't have 6/6 worms.
No, that doesn't come up too much.
We do. Jeremy just said we do. That's awesome. And we got 6.
Look at that.
Oh, we got 9. Yeah. All right. So Sever or. All right. Sweet. All right. Well, that was a fun match, even though it looked like, from the get-go, as long as Nick didn't draw an answer to the Olivia Voldaren, Tyler was going to take it down. It was just a matter of time.
Right. The Olivia just so powerful versus these all-creature decks, and really we've seen so many junk token decks. Have any of them won a match? I'm not sure if any have.
I think at least one did.